Hi there, this is Snow City Tarot, and I'm here with a pick a card reading. Today's topic is going to be for those of you that are feeling lost or hopeless. These are supposed to be some guiding messages for those who need them. So it doesn't necessarily have to be for any one topic, though if the topic does show up in your pile, then you'll know it's for you. Some of the piles may have multiple targets for topics, so I'll try to cover whatever I see if there's more than one. The message for a love situation could still be the same message for like a work situation. So please keep that in mind when you are pulling these. Of course, these are general readings, so if they don't resonate, then they're not for you. You can come back and look at other piles to see if those do help you with your situation. If there isn't a pile that matches yours, please just let me know in the comments that you'd like me to do another one, and hopefully I can pull some more cards that will match your situation in the next reading. So, before I get into the piles, I just wanted to say thank you for all my new subscribers. I wanted to say thank you to all those who are commenting. I do appreciate that, and I hope that I continue to get your support. So I will get into my readings here. So we've got pile 1. This is a rose quartz crystal. Pile 2, we have green aventurine. For those who have pile 3, this is a quartz crystal cluster, as far as I know. For those of you that do rocks and gems and are into that, is this what it is? You guys can let me know in the comments below. It doesn't look quite right to me for it to be a quartz crystal, but I'm pretty sure it just might be like a cluster of bad quality crystals or something. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think, if that's what that is. I always love to hear from stone people. And then the last one is my favorite, the rainbow fluorite points. So take a moment, ask your guides, because these are your messages from them. Ask your guides for the assistance that you need in picking so that you can get the correct message for you. So take a deep breath, exhale, and relax, and pick a pile. Hi, pile 1. This is for those of you that picked the pink quartz. This is your reading. So, if you're feeling lost, this appears to be the message for you. So, the topic at hand will be these tarot cards here, and then these oracle cards are going to be your messages. So, I have the 2 of Cups, the 9 of Cups, and the 4 of Cups. Already, this speaks of relationships, and it talks about feelings and emotions, basically. So the 2 of Cups is kind of showing me that this is maybe regarding somebody very close to you. It could be a friend, or it could be a romantic partner. I do sense, though, that this is definitely saying you're feeling some kind of hopelessness here with the 4 of Cups. And it's not necessarily like you've lost this relationship or anything like that. It looks like you're bored, and bored or apathetic, or you just don't feel anything. We have the 9 of Cups here showing that everything's pretty much a-okay for the most part with this relationship. I don't sense that there's anything wrong with it, other than this is something that maybe has gone on for a long time, and you don't really feel the same feelings that you had when you started. Perhaps this is a relationship where you do care about the person, but the feelings have kind of changed to friendship, or kind of maybe like a platonic sort of connection. For some of you, you might feel really attached to this person, but it's become more like a brother-sister or sister-siblings sort of connection that it's turned into. So I do sense that there's probably a fair amount of guilt when it comes to you, and this situation as a whole. You don't want to let anyone down or hurt anybody, but at the same time, you're not really feeling anything. It's almost like every day it's sort of like numb, like there's nothing new, there's nothing exciting. Maybe you guys aren't talking about anything that's of any interest or of any value. Maybe it feels like there's little to no personal development when it comes to your connection. It hasn't changed, it hasn't turned into anything. If anything, it's kind of like devolved or just kind of fizzled into a platonic situation. I think that with this, it may be that this is, falling apart. This relationship could be falling apart. Maybe there's a little more arguing than some other situations. So some of you, this might just be very friendly, but not much sizzle. For others, this may be a relationship that's kind of becoming more and more argumentative, or maybe something that's kind of like spiraling into something a little bit more toxic. And maybe you see this and you're thinking, I really should do something about this, but I just don't have the energy. And I think that maybe that might be where the guilt is coming from, and maybe that's why you're feeling hopeless, is because you feel like you should do something because it's your relationship, and if you're a good partner, you'll try to fix problems, but it just doesn't seem like your spirit is really in it so much. So it kind of seems like at this moment in time, you're wondering if you should just kind of grin and bear it and stick it out and just see it through. And, maybe the dating world isn't for you anymore, but you're kind of like settling for much less than makes you happy, right? It's not to say that this person is lesser or not valuable. Just as a romantic partner, they're just not meeting the needs that you have. So I think I'm seeing somebody who's definitely sitting in a spot of, well, should I just let it be? Nothing really bad is happening. I'm not crazy about life, but, at least I have a relationship. And that's kind of what I'm seeing here. It's almost like you also are afraid to possibly start dating again for X, Y, Z reasons, mainly probably regarding yourself or your self-esteem or your self-worth, or maybe you think you're too old, or maybe you think that your lifestyle is going to be hard to find somebody who wants to date you. If you have other obligations, it may be too hard for you to meet people. That could be another fear that you have. So overall, that's kind of what we're dealing with when it comes to why it is that you might be feeling lost or hopeless at this time. So the messages that you have from spirits, your guides, whoever your source of inspiration and security is from in a spiritual way, this is their message here. So we have the Child in reverse, the mystical shaman, discipline, and poised. So what I'm seeing here with poised is this is definitely like a call to action for you. You really should be doing something. You can't really sit like this much longer. And with poised here, it's talking about kind of getting ready, gearing up. Things are going to be changing for you. And, it's like you may sit in this relationship for a long time, but it's possible that the other party eventually may decide to cut this off as well. So I feel like that's one thing that you might be encountering. And so it's like, even if you want to keep this going, you should probably be prepared for something to happen on their end first. So it's like, I guess the thing is, do you want to be emotionally ready, or do you want to be caught by surprise, is another thing that this is asking you to think about. But this can be about being ready, bringing things to light that need to be brought to light, having confidence in yourself in taking the actions that you need to take in order to better yourself or bring yourself a sense of happiness. This also talks about doing things that are difficult, like telling somebody the truth at the cost of hurting their feelings. You've been faking this situation for so long that the longer it goes on, the worse the outcome will be, I think. So this is definitely saying that if you have something that you need to tell someone, particularly probably this partner, you should tell them. You should let them know. It's going to be difficult to let them down, perhaps, but in reality, this is something that you just don't want to draw out. You know, every day is precious, and every day you kind of you kind of holding this person, not holding them hostage, but you're keeping them around. You're wasting their time, and they're wasting your time, and you're letting it happen. Because every day is precious, right? And if you're living in apathy every day, are you really using your time wisely? Are you benefiting yourself or anyone else? Probably not. So this is advising you to kind of just rip the Band-Aid off, or get prepared to rip the Band-Aid off, because it should probably happen. You're not living up to your full potential, and you're not meeting the people that you need to meet. You're not opening up opportunities to see other people, to meet other people, to have new experiences. You really gotta make the room for it. Now we also have discipline. This is talking again about apathy, kind of reinforcing this card here. It says, I can accommodate what I set my mind to. So that's a personal affirmation that you can give yourself about setting your mind to do something challenging, difficult, whether it is taking the Band-Aid off or starting to date again. It wants you to be reminded that you can do whatever it is that you want so long as you set your mind to it. So this is basically saying to stop letting life happen to you. Apathy really pushes away a lot of good things in your life, because you're kind of just sitting in a situation that's holding up your time and, like I said, not really making much room for other things. So you want to keep your eyes on what it is that you want. This is definitely talking about that as well, with accommodating what you set your mind to. It's also maybe asking you to set your mind to something that you actually want. Instead of sitting there thinking about how much you don't like where you are, you should maybe set your eyes forward to where you want to be. So that could also help you maybe make this move and sever this connection, because it's possible that most of you won't do this because you have nothing on the other side. You have no plans after you jump off this pedestal. You have no plans of where you'll actually be, or where you're going, or where you're headed. You only know that you don't want to be here, but you haven't planned about where it is you do want to be. So we have these two cards here. We have the Child. So this is definitely a call to you, to remind you that you have a second chance. This card has a lot of meanings when it comes to second chances. It also talks about correcting the course of your life without being punished. You may think that doing this is bad. Hurting someone's feelings and letting them go is bad, but that's not the case. This is just a difficult hurdle to move on to something bigger, and not necessarily, it's better for you. I'm trying to say, like, this person is not a lesser person, or not useful or bad or any way. This is just saying that there's something more out there for you, and also something more out there for them as well. So this is saying that second chances, it's like by giving yourself a second chance, you give this person a second chance as well. So this allows them plenty of opportunities to grow and develop in their own way as well. So it's kind of like, it's doing a favor for both of you to maybe cut this connection off. This can also talk about connecting with your inner playfulness, your inner child, and all that sort of thing. So if you want to have some sort of motivation to go out and do all these things again, like dating and meeting new people, maybe come at it with a playfulness. Your second chance should be more uplifting, more playful, more youthful, regardless of age. And lastly, we have the mystical shaman. So this is basically saying not to let your life be defined by this one aspect. And that's why I'm saying I feel like this is definitely wasting your time, because you have put so much energy into doing nothing. You put so much energy into being apathetic that you're kind of letting apathy become your message. Apathy has become your purpose. And that's not a great way to be, because, it's not a productive energy to be in. So perhaps you may have had all of your eggs in the marriage basket. Say this is a marriage. You may have had all of your eggs in the marriage basket, and and being a couple, and maybe you're worried though. Maybe you're worried that if you do that, if you leave that aspect of your life, that maybe you were dead set on it. Maybe you were really focused on it, and once you had it, you realized it wasn't completing you. It was a nice idea, but it wasn't completing you. And maybe that's kind of the message here, is that you went through this phase, but don't see it as a failure. You might have put a lot of investment into caring about this and wanting to work with it, but your purpose in life wasn't just to be married, or just to be dating somebody, or just to be a partner. There's more to you than that. And maybe that's why there's some apathy here. So if this isn't something that you want to cut off, it's something that you could work on, but you need to work on your own individuality within your relationship as well. So if this isn't something that you're necessarily ready to leave, I think you need to find yourself as a separate person, kind of rediscover yourself, because your partner is not here to entertain you. That's not their job, to keep you active and entertained. You got to do that for yourself. If they come along with you, they're coming along for the ride. It's not necessarily you or them making the other person do these things. So if you're feeling bored or lost, or like you just don't know who you are anymore in your relationship, and it's not this can be talking about redefining who you are within your relationship. What's your role? Who are you? That sort of thing. You could be coupled for so long that you kind of don't know who you are anymore, is what it's saying here. So basically, this is just saying that it's time to move beyond this, whether it's leaving them or staying in the relationship and fixing it. It's time to move beyond this and live for more than whatever this scenario is. And if this is a situation that is dead and gone, you can't live for this at all. It's not here. It's not a thing anymore. In theory, the paper is there. You're living in the same apartment. Yeah, that's there, but is this a really a living relationship, or is it just cohabitation at this stage? And that's kind of what your guides want to ask you. They want to pose these questions for you. They want to have you look at the information you got in here today and sort of reconsider, or at least organize your thoughts in regards to this topic. So I like these little cards here. They're little tiny fortune cards, little oracle cards. I'm going to take 2 just to see if they resonate with anybody as final closing messages. Any last messages for group 1 in regards to this topic? Don't stop before reaching your destination is 1. And the best way to fight evil is by making progress in the good. These are kind of specific, I want to say. So this may work for just a few of you. These may resonate with a few of you. But it says, don't stop before reaching your destination. I feel like this one might be suggesting, setting that destination, setting that goal, and to remember how I said you have to have you're at the jumping off point, but you're afraid because you don't know what happens after that, right? This is probably saying that you should not stop before that. Don't stop because you don't know the end goal. On the back, they have little reversals here. It says, be still. Taking action at this time is not recommended. I think that's probably not right. That doesn't meet the message. Normally I read one side, because they do have them on the backs too, but yeah, I think it's probably these two. But yeah, the best way to fight evil is by making progress in the good. That's I wouldn't say there's any evilness in this situation, but maybe that applies to somebody. Yeah, still trying to learn how to properly integrate these into a reading, but anyway. On the back it says, don't lose yourself in love as well. So maybe that's talking more about keeping your identity in your partnerships. All right. Well, if that resonated with you, Group 1, please like, comment, subscribe, and let me know down in the comment section. If you want to see more readings from me, please hit the bell notification. And if you'd like a private reading from me, you can contact me at snowcitytarot@gmail.com, or you can look in my description box for my Etsy link. So I want to thank you guys for watching, and I wish you the very best of luck. Hi, Pile 2. This is your reading if you picked the Green Adventuring. Excuse me. So this one is a little bit heavier. I don't think this is dealing with like a relationship or an actual death, but I do have the Death and the Ten of Swords here. I have the Three of Wands, and then I have the Seven of Wands to clarify. I actually did have to take a few extra clarifier cards because there's a lot of complex feelings going on with this one. These top cards here are going to be your situation, and these are the messages, right? So, I am sensing guilt, of course. We do have the guilty card. It says, I release any belief that no longer assists in my soul's growth. So that is what the guilt card here. And I'm feeling that they're kind of saying that guilt is not really, you might be beating yourself up over something, and it's not really helping you anymore at this point. At first, it was good to kind of get a change to happen, but at this stage, it's like you're already aware that the change needs to be made, and they're trying to tell you that right now there's no need for you to feel guilty, okay? Guilt is really only there to inspire change in our behavior or our outlook or something. But it doesn't really serve a purpose if you just continue to beat yourself up, right? So if anything, that kind of, if you're guilty about something that you've done to somebody else, beating yourself up doesn't help them either. So really, it's just unnecessary self-cruelty. So just you don't have to be there anymore. That's what they're saying. And you don't have to feel guilty about not feeling guilty. Just only from here you can change and move forward. But as far as the situation, I just feel like you had a long-term goal for something. And I see that with the Three of Wands. I feel like you set out to do something, and it's been a very long journey for you. But the task, or whatever it was that you were taking on, was too much. It was too much, and eventually you kind of had to step back. You had to give up in a way. And I mean, for some of you, maybe you gave up. For some of you, maybe you're taking a break. But the Seven of Wands is clarifying this Three of Wands. It's that you originally had some kind of goal that you had in mind, and you were very dead set on completing this goal. But I think that over time, inertia kind of set in on your plans and slowed things down to either a screeching halt or to just a completion. The Death card is here. It's about endings, and in this case with the Ten of Swords here, I really feel like this is about endings. But with Death here, it's kind of saying that whatever this was a really slow demise. Death isn't a sudden random card. Like it's a death that you expected to happen over time. So I think eventually it ran its course, and you kind of knew about this, and that's why I think the guilt's been here a long time, that these plans that failed, it was over a long period of time, and you've kind of been living with this problem for a while. But now, I think now there's just this sense of completion, but the sense of failure as well. Brutal failure. And part of me thinks that the Ten of Swords here, I don't think anybody's beating you up but yourself, really. In some cases, if this is a romantic situation, I think this is going to be one of those piles where it's one of two things. It'll be different for everybody. But the Ten of Swords, it could in some cases, for some people, be a betrayal. Either you betrayed someone else or they betrayed you. either way, there's a sense of guilt coming out of this, whether or not you feel responsible for making somebody cheat on you, or you feel guilt for cheating on somebody else, or maybe doing something that might not have been the greatest. I think for most of you, though, this is going to be talking about a very slow demise of a long-term plan that you might have told everybody about and been like, yes, this is going to be great. I promise you it's going to work out. Maybe you had other people's money involved. You invested for other people or something like that. Or and invested doesn't have to be money. It could just be you had other people's time invested. You had other people's hopes invested. And I think that the eventual failure of this is kind of like really, it's causing you to really kick yourself. So that is kind of what I'm seeing here. I did take some extra cards here just because I wanted to get a clearer understanding of what this situation was. But I got the second house value. So again, this is about the items, the property, the money in your pocket, how you spend it. This can also talk about your personal values and your personal self-worth. So that's why I'm getting this sense that you might have put other people's values in jeopardy, or you may have, for some of you, if this was like a betrayal situation and there's guilt on your part, and you're feeling hopeless because of that, this would be in regards to your personal values, your personal moral codes, your ethics, that sort of thing. Maybe you compromise those, and you're feeling very guilty about this. That's one way to look at it. I did pull some cards just to figure out where the guilt is coming from and why, because all I see is some very heavy energy here. So the more detailed I get, the less it's going to resonate for everybody. I'm going to say that this is probably the majority's energy here. But I have the 5 of diamonds, the 8 of wands, and the 4 of diamonds. So, I'm sorry, 8 of clubs, 4 of diamonds. To clarify guilt. So it does look like maybe somebody may have asked you for help, either financial help, maybe just help with your energy, basically, in the sense of like, can you help me move this thing? Can you help do a physical thing for me, or could you help me and maybe talk to me or something like that. But I do sense that there may have been an issue where somebody asked you for help, or you needed help, or you felt like you weren't enough, basically. And that's where the guilt is coming from. And the 8 of wands is definitely saying that I feel like some action was requested from somebody, either you or someone else. And the 4 of diamonds is sort of saying that somebody said, no, I can't do it, or no, I don't have this. This could also kind of show somebody who's saving their money or investing it in something else. So like I said, I'm getting a lot of different messages for this group. But with the 4 of diamonds here, I'm thinking that this has to do with like money, or just straight up denial of helping someone else. It's really quite interesting to see how it can spread like this into different categories. But I think the majority of you might have been, maybe you denied another person help, and that's why you're feeling guilt or something of that nature. Or you asked for help and the thing didn't get off the ground and now people are out of money or something like that. But that's the energies I'm getting from this. So what is your advice? The building blocks in reverse is what we have, and not for you. Not for you is talking about literally some aspect of this not being for you. So if this was a dismal failure and you're kicking yourself over it and you're dwelling on it, not for you is here to tell you that this was a happy accident, or this was a blessing in disguise, because this card in the description can quote, what was it? Rejection is God's protection, basically. It's saying that if this thing didn't happen, it wasn't meant to be. And that if you managed to somehow force that thing to be, it would have been a bigger waste of time and a more dismal failure if you had somehow made it work. Building blocks is also telling you that there were a lot of cracks and faults and problems with this that you may not have been aware of, and that is why this thing fell apart. But it fell apart for a reason. This didn't come to fruition. It didn't make it for a reason, and it was probably for your own good. It was probably for the good of everyone else too. Maybe in this case, though, since this was like a long-term thing, I'm thinking that the whole point of this was the journey, not necessarily the destination. And it was important for you to experience the journey through this, even though it ended in failure, because it was more important for you to learn like that rather than learning by succeeding or success. This also has something to say maybe about learning about humility, learning about planning, learning about foresight. And that was probably the greatest value in this situation, even though the lesson was very hard to learn. Lastly, we have the Vision Quest. And this card is really kind of interesting because it doesn't seem to want to fit with the rest of this. Maybe this fits for a few of you, but I feel like I feel like this is going to be very specific to a few of you because it doesn't really seem to be filling in the rest of the story here. It seems to be kind of like a wild card. It's out on its own. But this says that Spirit has been trying to contact you, and you have not been listening. So maybe you're seeing synchronicities. Maybe you're thinking you're seeing signs, weird little things here and there. This could say that there's a message somewhere waiting for you. Maybe it's not a message from Spirit, but maybe it's a message regarding this topic is waiting for you somewhere. But that's what I'm seeing with this one. It's like I said, it's kind of just like a side note, a little bit off topic maybe, but maybe not. Maybe if there is a message somewhere out there for you that you haven't seen yet, maybe it's about this topic. If not, this is saying that if you're having difficulty getting over this, they've been trying to contact you, trying to help you, but you've been so stuck in your guilt and stuck in your head that you haven't been able to be reached. So this may be talking to you to maybe ask for signs, maybe meditate and try to contact that way, maybe keep an eye on your surroundings and see if there's any sort of meaning happening in your life around you that you haven't seen. Spirits contact us through signs like this. Like you come to a pick a card reading, the signs are in the reading. You see a weird thing on the ground that's out of the norm and it catches your eye, that's usually a message too. Say you're thinking about a topic and you see like a fox run in front of you, that's usually a sign. Something rare and noteworthy or coincidental is a sign. So maybe you're not aware of how that works. This is called a pantomancy. If you want to look it up, you can kind of find out the meaning of things in your life too, you know. So for me, I saw a heron one time just standing out on the sidewalk looking at me, like standing, not near any water or anything, just a blue heron just standing there. That is a sign. And he was like standing in front of like a public school. It wasn't out in the wilderness or anything. He was just standing there on a sidewalk next to a public school. That is a pantomancy. That is a sign. So when you see things like that, if you see a cloud in the sky that looks weird, that's another sign, that sort of thing. So this is saying that you need to keep yourself aware of these things. There's messages and insight that are coming to you, so you don't have to come to pick a card readings. They're probably saying that you could find your own guidance on your own. And I think they would like you to. This is a suggestion to maybe start doing that. So, I'm going to pull these cards. These are my little fortune cards. Sometimes they're right on, sometimes they're kind of weird. But let's see if we can get any extra guidance here for you in your reading. They have a front and a back message, and I normally read the one that I see first, but I might switch and see if the back is more relevant. One last message for Group 2's situation. Keep accomplishments to yourself. So this might be talking about if you're somebody who has, and I feel like this is less about accomplishments and more like if you have a great idea, maybe don't sell people on it just yet. If you have a thing you're excited about, don't start telling everybody until you have things settled. for various reasons. You don't want people to poo-poo an idea and drag you down if the thing is actually really valuable. But if you get too excited and tell everybody first before you put the work in, it could kind of put a damper, kind of put like a self-fulfilling prophecy on it if you've got someone who's like, well, that'll never work because it's a bad idea. So it's saying that maybe in the planning phases of things, before you get everything settled, maybe keep your ideas to yourself so that you can kind of keep the energy right. I know a lot of people, I'm exactly like that, where if something happens and I get super mega excited, I'll like tell everybody, and then I'll get like super embarrassed once I'm like, oh man, I totally flopped on that. That didn't turn into anything. Like, so that's something that a lot of people do, so you don't need to worry about that. And I'm going to take one more here. Any last messages for group 2, please? Follow the heart instead of the mind. Okay. Yeah, so this is also kind of talking about guilt is something that you feel in your mind, I want to say, more than you feel in your heart. I mean, maybe you do, but I feel like the guilt that kind of lasts for a long time, it kind of goes out of the emotional area and more into the mental state where you're just sort of kicking yourself over and over and over again. It's like remembering something you did 10 years ago. That's all mental. That's all mental. That has nothing to do with your heart at that stage. I think true guilt maybe is very fresh and very emotional when you first have it, but if you're thinking about something from like 5 years ago that's said and done and whoever was harmed is like over it, that's all mental. So I want to say that this is saying that you just follow your heart instead of the mind here. So don't get caught up in your thoughts about guilt from a million years ago. It's really worthless in the end. So thank you so much for watching group 2. Please let me know if this resonates for you. Please like and comment if it did. And please subscribe if you'd like to see more. And if you want to see any of my notifications popping up when I do post new videos, please hit the bell notification. And I want to thank you all for watching. Bye. Hi, group 3. This is for those of you that picked the quartz crystal cluster. So, what am I seeing here? I'm getting a vibe with this that this is largely related to an imbalance of responsibility, imbalance of power. For some of you, it is going to be regarding a child support, child custody. Some of you, not all of you. Because I'm seeing a couple different things here. I'm seeing 2 people, and I'm seeing the Justice card in between them. So when I see this, it's kind of looking like some sort of battle between these 2 people, or an imbalance between 2 energies. Sometimes it's literally 2 people, and sometimes it's having to be 2 people at once and having difficulty maintaining that. So I see the 10 of Wands here, King of Wands, King of Coins, and Justice, right? So when I see this, given the advice as well, I'm noticing something here about somebody who does the work and somebody who makes the money, somebody who basically does the physical labor and brings in the money at the same time. This person is expected to produce. This person is expected to manage. And I feel like this is maybe you trying to be both the hard labor and the management. So this could be in regards to your home. This could be in regards to your family. Maybe you have to be good cop and bad cop if this is involving children. Especially if there's some sort of, you have to kind of represent yourself in a certain way in order to get your kids. Say you're having a custody battle. Or in some cases, maybe you're single and you have to be both the mother and the father. In some cases, you may be battling a second person, and it's just a lot of work. Because the 10 of Wands, I think, is the center point of your hopelessness of right now. So when I see this, I'm thinking that it's just whatever it is, there's a lot on your mind. There's too much going on to focus on other things. Maybe you can't focus on the things that matter because you're far too busy. But it looks like, you could be working your butt off to bring in all sorts of money that you need for whatever. Maybe you have to pay alimony. Maybe you have to pay child support. Maybe if it's not those things, you have to pull in the money because you have no support. And whatever the position that you're in, it feels hopeless because it's not fair. It's not balanced. It's you drew the short end, or the short straw, basically. So that's what I'm seeing with your actual situation. So yeah, it could be legal. It could be just your work situation in general. Maybe you are working a whole lot. And even with the fifth house here of creativity, I'm thinking this is about production, producing things. So, maybe you have to produce results, but you also have to be in charge. It's like you have to do the grunt work and you have to do the management aspect. That's kind of what I'm seeing. So it's like somebody who maybe doesn't have enough employees, or somebody who to work below them. But I'm getting a feeling, though, that as far as energies go, there's just this sense of having to be wear a lot of hats and have a lot of stress and responsibilities that you're dealing with. Now, with your oracle cards, I'm seeing that we've got the Hunter, you've got Round and Round, Imagine, Worry, and Self-Esteem. And these oracle cards are meant to be the messages for you about your situation from your guidance. So what I'm seeing is with Round and Round, it's kind of, this talks about cycles and patterns that you've been through before. When it comes out in a reverse, it's asking you to remember situations like you've been in here that you may have been in before, or even if this is your first time, say it's your first time with a divorce, or it's your first time with paying child support or doing any of these things, there might have been a pattern that kind of got you into this mess. So it's more of like a warning into the future about possibly making the same mistakes again that may get you into this predicament. It basically is a reminder that, and this person, I feel like if this is your spirit guidance, this is some hard love here. This is somebody who is rather tough, because they're saying that you need to be more responsible about this. Now, even though you might perceive yourself as being responsible by doing all the work yourself, that's not really responsible, though. You can overload yourself. And yes, you're working hard, but working hard isn't responsibility, So this might be a reminder that, doing everything yourself is not responsible. And that's that's the very big theme that I picked up in this, is that you're allowing worry here. You're allowing worry to masquerade as control or power. And it's like you're not actually in power here. You're not actually in control. You're just letting your worry run rampant and uncontrolled. You're not even trying to hold it back. And, all it is it's worry is overworking you. Because I feel like maybe from your perspective, you're like, it does look like a bit of a control freak in that way, because what it says is like, if you want something done right, you'll do it yourself. I really sense that this is what this is. You're not delegating your tasks. The Ten of Wands pops up when people are not giving, work to other people. In fact, the Ten of Wands indicates somebody who's taking on everybody else's work, and they've just accumulated so much over time that they haven't even realized how much they've accumulated. So it's not just necessarily work, but it's worry and stress. And this is what it represents if you were to take on all of these issues or problems, everyone else's problems at once. So it's like you don't, and maybe people come to you and say, oh, I have this problem, and you just don't trust them enough to take care of the issue. You think, oh, well, I'll just fix it myself. But as a result, you're here looking at this in a very hopeless situation, feeling really hopeless. So it's not actually doing you much good either, or is it, I guess. So here's the other thing is, though, when you take away other people's ability to do a task for themselves, you're not allowing them to learn how to do it. And what are you going to do when they're no longer, what are they going to do when you're no longer around to do the task for them? Nothing's been gained. You're overworked. Nothing's been learned. So it's kind of a waste, you know? So imagine is here in reverse as well. And it talks about being realistic about the situation. You know, why are you afraid of letting people do things? You know, why are you afraid of, maybe you're afraid of asking for help. Maybe you're worried that your self-esteem might, maybe you don't ask for help for fear because you don't have the self-esteem to ask for help. You know, sometimes being the tough, confident person is sometimes in its own way, its own issue of self-esteem. It's overcompensation sometimes. It's not coming from a sincere place, you know. So you're taking on all this extra work, you're taking on all this worry, you're controlling other people, and you know, it's coming from a place of not feeling. It's so strange because it's like you're working very hard, but still somehow not actually reaping the benefits of working hard, like having, you know, good self-esteem of good, hard, quality work, or you know, or peace of mind. You're not getting anything out of that. So it's just like your flaws are coming out in the amount of stuff you take on. So I think that's very interesting, in my opinion. But basically with these cards here, though, it's, and imagine, the disasters that you're worried about aren't real. You are catastrophizing. It's like anxiety of some kind that is causing you all this stress. Maybe you're thinking, well, I'm not stressing about anything. No, you're stressing about not getting everything done, so you're doing it for them. So it's like secondary. It's like the secondary effects of anxiety. So it's still anxiety, but it's like secondary. So basically, yeah, you basically are taking on a whole bunch of issues, a whole bunch of other problems because you're worried that maybe it will appear like you're not good enough to take all the things on. People expect you to take the things on, and if you say no, and that's what the Hunter's about, if you say no, you're worried that it's going to look bad. So, and that's where the Hunter comes in, right? So the Hunter, sometimes this talks about, you know, the Hunter goes out, but sometimes you know, he comes back empty-handed, right? But for you, if this were you going out for this hunt, it sounds like you will try to produce results, even though, you know, there's nothing to hunt. So you come back with roadkill, right? So that's kind of the thing, is it's quality over quantity. It should be quality over quantity, but you're afraid to say no. You're afraid to not produce results. You're probably worried about the effects of telling people, no, I can't do this. And that's kind of what's, you know, causing you all this stress. It's like maybe you're stressed, and the reason why you're coming here is because you don't know why. You're doing everything right. Why do you still feel, you know, like you're not worth a damn? Why do you still feel worried? You're doing all these things. Well, yeah, you're doing all of it. That's why. And your self-esteem is heavily linked in not being able to say no to somebody. Like, why are you so afraid to tell someone to go do it themselves? So I feel like that's kind of the crux of the issue here. It's just, yeah. Sometimes it's just okay to say no to everybody. You know, if everybody's hounding you for work, hounding you for money, sometimes you just tell them no. Figure it out yourself. I don't have it. You might be worked to death to get it. And some people just need to be told no. Know what it's like to have to go without. There's a lesson in that too. If you're trying to appease family, let them, you know, let them learn what it's like to go without. And of course, you know, if it's very important, like medical or something like that, then yeah, you might want to go easy on them. But you don't have to say yes to every single thing. If it's a family member asking for money or something like that. I just see you trying to balance two aspects of yourself, trying to be two different people, be the worker bee and the queen bee. You can't be both. That's all the message I got here. I'm going to pull from my little bag of fortunes here. These guys are sometimes hit and miss. They have two sides too as well, so I'm not entirely sure which side I'm supposed to be reading just yet. I usually pick the one that comes out and I see first, but we'll see. Can I please get a card of advice or extra message for group 3? Okay, I've got 2. Make a commitment and be prepared for the unexpected is 1. And then if we look at the back, it says, switch your attention from the unsolvable problem inside you to the solvable problem in front of you. That may be relevant to some people. And then we have give generously. I'm getting mixed messages here. The whole of the reading is telling you to stop being worried about the unexpected and to not give so generously, but these keep coming up, which is really confusing to me. So unless this somehow, I mean, this might just resonate with people as they come, but yeah, switch your attention from the unsolvable problem inside you to the solvable problem in front of you. And make a commitment. So maybe that resonates for some people. These guys have been hit or miss today, but we'll see. Let me know if those resonated. And if you liked your reading group 3, please let me know. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Please hit the bell notification if you want to see more updates. If you're interested in a private reading with me, you can go to my Etsy shop. It's Snow City Tarot under Etsy. Yeah, I want to thank you for watching, and I will see you guys in the next reading. Hello, group 4. This is for those of you that pick the fluorite point. Group 4. This is an isolation situation. I was waiting for one of these to pop up, and you guys appear to be that one. You seem to be quite lonely. I've got the Hanged Man, the Hermit, and the Star. And what's funny is I was like, I'm like, this looks like an isolation thing, but let me double check. And I pulled these 2 cards. I got the house, the 12th house, and I got the 11th house, which is society. And this one is literally about isolation and being locked away. So I'm seeing an isolation thing. So whether or not you're watching this in a time where you are still in a situation of lockdown, or whether or not you're just isolated for whatever reason, maybe you lost your job and you're alone right now, maybe there's a lot of other situations that could happen that could isolate a person. Maybe you broke up with somebody and you're just living alone, maybe someone moved out, that sort of thing. So it's not just actually being forced to be alone or locked away in your house by the government or whatever. This could be any number of situations that could leave you feeling isolated, even if you're surrounded by people, okay? So it can still resonate for you guys as well, because this is a timeless reading. So overall, I have the Star, the Hermit, and the Hanged Man. We have a sense of loneliness. We have a sense of lack of movement, the inability to make any changes or make any improvements, make any choices. It's like you're very much frustrated by the lack of things that you can do right now. You're probably very, very bored. The Star is here, and I feel like it's showing that there's something that's just out of reach. You know, the Star is this hope that there's some nice little happy, entertaining, beautiful, wonderful thing that you want. Maybe it's a person that you're in love with that you want to see. Maybe it's simply going out and enjoying, you know, your friends. Maybe it's, you know, maybe you're online watching things about, you know, travel, or watching like very idealistic, romantic things about like gardens or beautiful places, and you can't go there. You can't get out. You can't go do these things. Maybe you're fantasizing about meeting people and socializing. Whatever it is, there's something that's just out of your reach that you're not able to enjoy, and all you can really do right now is think about what you don't have. You know, I get the sense though that you might be like not necessarily alone either. You might be with other people that are there for you, but you're not You're not counting them. You're feeling lonely still. So, and that's kind of what I'm getting from honesty here. I think honesty says, I can't always expect the truth from others, but I can expect it from myself, is what this honesty card says. And by the way, these are all messages from your guides, right? So these are just your situation. This is messages from your guides or whatever guidance you call upon. I see the Queen of Cups, the King of Wands, and the Jack of Wands, and then the Seven of Pentacles. So I kind of see a family here. So I feel like you're not necessarily alone, but you feel lonely. You're around a bunch of people here, but they're not good enough to keep you from feeling lonely. Now this could, if it's not family, it could be friends. Maybe you have roommates. Maybe you thought these people were very close with you, but somehow being stuck in close quarters with them for long periods of time is making you feel lonelier than you thought it would. And the Seven of Pentacles is here calling you to take an assessment here. What is the value of these people? Like, if it's not a family and these are your friends and they're making you feel this way, what's the value here? It's saying that, and in some cases, if you're not asked to question the value of these people that you thought were very close to you, this could maybe ask you to evaluate yourself. Why are you so lonely when you're surrounded by so many people? Is there an underlying issue here that might be affecting you? And this is the same too, you know, if this is not people that you're actually locked in to like a location with, maybe these are friends that you met online and they're not scratching your itch for social interaction. There's something about the people around you, people that you still interact with, that you need to pay attention to. And that's what you're being asked to do, is to pay attention to them, kind of assess what is going on with them, and wonder if that's really what it is that you want. Are those people really helping you? Are they negative? Maybe they're just not who you thought they were. So right now, though, honesty is also here trying to tell you to whether or not you have an issue with people around you. Honesty is here for you to say that you need to kind of be honest with yourself. Why are you having such a hard time being alone? Why are you having so much trouble being by yourself? The Hermit card, I feel like, is in a detriment here because the question was, why are you feeling hopeless? The Hermit, in a positive light, can talk about being alone but not being lonely. So I feel like in this case, it's the opposite for you because of the question that I asked. So it's possible that there's some aspect you just can't be by yourself, with yourself. You can't be alone with yourself. And it may not be any inherited bad aspect or some sort of trauma or something like that. In some cases, it could be. But in some cases, it's just maybe you've never practiced being alone. And this moment in time is to prepare you for maybe another time in life where you have to be alone under circumstances that might be more difficult than this. And I think that's kind of what you're being asked to do, like for times when you have to rely on yourself. Not necessarily saying you're going to be locked up again sometime in the future. What this is saying is you may be faced with another moment in time where you need to be your own comfort. You need to be your own entertainment. You need to be your own guidance, and you need to fill those niches and that niche in yourself, so you don't have to have another person provide it for you. Because what are you going to do if you never exercise that aspect of yourself? What are you going to do when there's no one there? You know, and you might be in a situation where you need it more than you need it now. So I feel like right now is kind of like the testing, like the testing grounds for you to try to figure out how to be by yourself. How to be your own guidance, how to live alone if you have to live alone at any point. So that's kind of what I'm seeing with that honesty card and all these different court cards. It's just that I definitely feel like there's people around you already, or people in your life that you could use to be, socialized and feel comfortable, but for some reason it's not scratching that itch. So the other advice cards here, we have the Sweat Lodge reversed, the Staff reversed, a change in the wind. The biggest one here, these two are kind of very similar, and they're like one card at this point. But this card stands out basically the major message that you want to know first and foremost to prep yourself for maybe getting down to the nitty-gritty of being alone with yourself. The one thing that you have to remember is that everything is impermanent. Everything is impermanent. Loneliness is impermanent. Happiness is impermanent. If you lose happiness, you'll always have that moment to get it back, because things come and go. It talks about a change with the wind. Nothing lasts forever. No negative state, no positive state, nothing lasts forever. So this is saying that it could talk about uncertainty and not being firmly grounded. But overall, the main thing you want to take away from this is that this is not forever. Outer conditions may not be in your favor right now, but things will change. You want to use this emotional winter, basically, because that's kind of what this is. You're feeling lonely. It's an emotional winter. You want to use this as time to plant some seeds for your springtime, basically. You want to invest in planning, invest in knowledge, invest in yourself. Maybe you're not somebody who does a lot of meditation. Maybe you don't do journaling, or maybe you don't like to do introspective work. You don't like to look at yourself. You don't want to know about your issues and your insecurities. Maybe you don't want to do those things. But this might be calling you to do them. Now's a great time to do it. You haven't done anything wrong, so there's nothing that you have to face that's difficult. You can kind of look at your insecurities from a blameless situation. You could just be like, what could I do better at? What could I be better at? And that's kind of where you're coming from. It's a totally healthy, neutral place to be coming in to do a little bit of self-work. Maybe, try to organize your mind a bit, organize your priorities in life. There's a lot of value in having nothing to do. And that is, and right now is a beautiful time to do it, right? Especially if you have, say you're on unemployment or disability or something, and this is not during the quarantine time. You're going to have extended periods of time that you don't normally get. So much of our lives is work every day. You only get 2 days off, and those 2 days are to focus to socialize and clean your house and do your errands, and then you go back to work, and you have 4 hours at the end of the day. You make dinner, you go to sleep. It's not enough time to sit and breathe. It's not enough time to sit and think and try to become a better person. You're not being, you're not given enough time to just be introspective for a minute. And that's kind of what we see with the sweat lodge and the staff, right? This is saying the sweat lodge is about, they call it second chances. It's like being reborn. So it says, give yourself time to be alone. It's about being alone. If it bothers you, try to explore why that is. And this is that it's a great time to do what some people call shadow work. Shadow work sounds very, spooky, but it's really just kind of saying, it's like you sit there and you say, man, I am super disorganized. Why can't I just, drop things for just 1 second and put my things away? What is it about me that is not able to do this? And how does this affect my life? It's a great time to do that. If you look around your house, you can kind of see how you live and kind of pinpoint the issues that you have that may need work, And it doesn't necessarily have to be fighting off your deepest inner demons. Sometimes it's just trying to get into a routine that's healthy. Trying to get up every morning and do yoga or go for a run or something. It's now's the perfect time to reprogram yourself. Some people they say it takes about 6 weeks to get a new routine or get a new habit. And for some of us, we actually do have 6 weeks that we're going to do that. I know I live in New York State, so we'll probably be reassessing whether or not we can go back to work safely by May 15th. But chances are, it might not be that way. So, because I'm not in New York City, things move differently, right? So anyway, 6 weeks might still be at my disposal, and I can't do anything about it. But, I see no better time to, try to gain a new habit in that 6 weeks. So, that's a way to look at this situation. It's about making having lemons and making lemonade, you know. So we also have the staff here, which is the last card that you have here. This is another call to retreat. It's a call for corrective action. Like I said, you may not have some insanely deep thing that you need to work on, but corrective action is kind of showing that you can, again, reassess what it is you are, who you are, why you have this feeling of loneliness, how you can correct that. What tools do you have in your emotional toolbox to deal with moments when you're feeling lonely or feeling powerless? Do you have a toolbox for that? You know, you have a road kit in your car if you get into an accident or you get stranded. Do you have an emotional toolbox that you can use to take care of yourself if you get emotionally stranded? You know, something like that. Everybody should have some sort of go-to. Fortunately, maybe you never had to use something like that or think about something like that. But, you know, life is long. You might have to, at some point, you know, use these tools to take care of yourself emotionally, mentally. And some of these things are mental techniques, and some of them are actual physical things. Like maybe you know, when you're stressed, you may color. You know, I know some people like to color things. They like to paint. They like to draw, sing. Maybe you don't have something like that yet. Maybe you need a creative outlet. So, yeah. So the staff is basically saying what this whole entire message is for you right now in this moment is you are alone right now because you need to be alone. Now's training time. This is a time to get to know yourself. It's boring. It's frustrating. But there's a lot of good that can be reaped from this situation. Okay, so let me pull. I'm pulling these for everybody. Sometimes they apply, sometimes they don't. The messages may apply for like individuals if it doesn't match the message in here. So we'll see. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. Let's see. So can I get a message for group 4? Extra messages that they need to know right now. For group 4. Got 2. Recognize that special someone that's in your heart. When you think things won't go your way, you are creating it to go poorly. Special. I feel like this one could be seen as a special someone that's in your heart is you. Maybe you need to get to know this special someone that is you. When you think things won't go your way, you are creating it to go poorly. It's talking about ruminating on negativity can kind of propagate it, is what it's saying. On the back, it says, a situation goes your way when your attitude changes. And this one says, start by using positive words of encouragement to others and to yourself, and to stop yourself when you start complaining. So that one's kind of obvious, I want to say. But, yeah, the situation goes your way when your attitude changes. So try to change your perspective on this. This is probably step 1 on your journey to get your emotional toolkit, your emotional toolbox. Change the way you see a situation, and you'll have better control over it. All right? Thank you for watching Group 4. Please like, comment, subscribe if this resonated with you, if this helped you in any way. Please hit the bell notification if you'd like to see my videos pop up in your feed in the future. And if you'd like a private reading from me, I do have an Etsy store. You can go to Etsy and search Snow City Tarot, and I am there. You can also email me at snowcitytarot@gmail.com. So I want to thank everybody who stuck around for the whole thing. I want to thank everybody who found this useful and feels the need to tell me. I do appreciate that, and I hope to see you all in my next video. Bye now.